And we are live. We are live. We are live. And we're on the whole screen. Oh, no, I can't do that. I didn't want to talk because I don't want to have chat. Sorry, people. I know y'all can see. I am Larry Martin, real estate agent extraordinaire in the Maryland, D.C. area. And this is my guest. Please introduce yourself, guest.
Hi, I'm Niesha Gowens. I am a licensed clinical social worker in North Carolina and a licensed independent social worker in South Carolina. And I currently have a private practice and I do psychotherapy full time.
Wonderful, wonderful. It's been a long time coming. I looked at our text and our conversation. It started back in like, I want to say 2002, 22, 22. It's 22,
Yeah,
23.
yeah,
I was like,
it was something like
ah,
that. Hmm.
yeah. And I have questions. I have, I probably have issues, but I have questions. But first, I want to, not issue. I want to put up, you could say it, and I put it on the thing, but I want to put your website at it. So how's everything going?
Everything's going well. We're going into a holiday time. Um, the weather's changing, so mental health needs are increasing. So you know,
Oh my goodness. Uh, and let's see. So, and I wanted to scroll. Can it scroll? I think it can. Banner brand, bro. I'm telling you. I I call myself trying to reintroduce this stuff to myself. But it's a way that it scrolls. It does all of this stuff. But yeah. Um, that's good. I'm excited. I'm excited to get your take on a couple of things.
okay,
Uh, just to throw it out there, I am still licensed in DC, Maryland area. If anyone would like to sell, purchase anything, or need some consultation, feel free to give me a call, 240-752-2457. And I have been curating these questions for some time. They start off kind of like, oh man, and I wanted to kind of share them with you first, but I think it's probably like getting just more to some because my thoughts are out there a little bit. Um, so let's get prepared. Oh my goodness, I had questions, and I don't want to hold you long. I know you're very busy. You have some people. Um, and I said, how are you already? Okay. Um, what was it? What was it that drew you to this field?
um, well, so a little bit of background. You already know some of this, but
No,
mental
we don't.
health. Okay,
No,
so
we don't.
we so I have had to kind of learn about mental health since I was real young. So my mom has severe mental health issues. So kind of, being with her, living with her, had me experience that. And as I got older, I really, nobody told me what mental health was growing up. Like I didn't know what I was experiencing. So as I got older, mental health just kept coming back to me. Being a therapist was almost my only goal. And telling I remember telling my one of my parents, like, hey, I want to be a social worker. I want to be a therapist and take the social work route. And I remember them telling me, oh, don't do that. Like, you're not going to make any money doing that. Like, you shouldn't do that. And I went to go be a nurse. I actually went to school to be a nurse and flunked every test I took and eventually dropped out and just went to go my merry way in life and just made mistakes, messed up. And when I did decide to get my life together, I came back to social work and I learned so much about mental health. I learned so much about um, just what my mom was going through. So I really feel like that's my calling. I feel like I had to go through those things with my mom because this is what I was meant to do is serve people who have mental health struggles.
Mm, that's good. I don't think. I don't think. I mean, that's good that you kind of like you felt and knew what you wanted to do and had a purpose and something that led you to that. Um,
Thank you.
it's good. I don't think that people really understand the necessity that field has in our life. Um, and some of these questions are probably gonna kind of open it up, but I think we all kind of need it. So how long have you been licensed and practicing?
I've been licensed and practicing around 4 years, going on 5 years now.
Mm. And I've dealt with a couple of therapists as I should have. Um, do you have a like one of those like a method or because I know the latest one is probably why I still don't have her. The latest one that I dealt with, she was like trying to I under I kind of understood it after the fact, but she was trying to get me to um like whatever issues I had, she wanted to know where I felt them in my body. It was
Mm,
almost like she her thing was you trap trauma in your body
mm.
and somehow to push it out. I kind of didn't get that, but I kind of got it at the same time. But I didn't know how that type of thing was going to help. Do you have anything or any methods or like that, or how do you come about uh, diagnosing?
So I, that is definitely a way. There's so many different approaches, and I've noticed that a lot of therapists do use more of a and it is good. It's good to know where you feel your trauma. It's good to know where you feel uh, the trigger, right? You feel an emotion. Sometimes, for me, I feel it in my stomach. Like my stomach starts to. If
Mm,
I'm anxious, I feel it in there. Some people start to rub their neck, the back of their
mm,
neck. It's good to listen to your body, know what your body is doing. Um, I am more of a CBT girl, so cognitive behavioral therapy is where I am. I'm all about us talking about breathing and some therapists even talk about going outside and stepping it out, right? Getting that emotion out. But I'm gonna talk. We're gonna follow your trauma by taking something that's going on in your present life, and we're gonna explore it all the way to the root of
mm,
where that thing happened, what made you look at the world that way. So a lot of the times a client will say, I don't know why I can't forgive myself for something, right? They just can't figure it out. and we will travel, and I'll challenge their thinking, like, well, let's talk about it. How well do you give yourself grace? Well, I don't do really well with that. Well, let's go to your childhood. Who taught you how to give yourself grace? Like, were your family members really um would they forgive your mistakes easily, or were they very critical? Well, they were very critical, and so we start to explore kind of like where you develop this perception that you had to be so critical of yourself, and then we kind of go from there. So that's more of my method. I don't do as much mindfulness, what it sounds like she was doing with you. I don't do as much of that, but yeah.
And that's good. That seems like that would that would probably be on my level of what I would like to hear from a therapist. You know what I'm saying? Trying to
Yeah.
find the root, because I guess just jumping and throwing somebody into, "Hi, do you feel it in your elbow? Do you feel it in your back?" Like, I don't, what? No, no. Let's trace something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So one thing that I'm noticing, even with the pandemic and even to the present, how would you direct or suggest someone, or what is a way, if there is a way, for someone to deal with death? It's been definitely a lot of passings going on in the past couple of months, years. How would you suggest someone, or is there a method or a way to deal with losing a loved
Um, loss is one of the hardest things that we go through as humans. And the biggest thing I notice is we don't want to deal with it, right? Like we feel it, and then it's like it's a few things that we do if we don't learn how to process death younger. Just loss in general, just anything involving loss, then we will maybe distract ourselves. All right, we will work more. We will dismiss it. Let's just get back to normal, right? And the biggest thing is sitting with it. And let me preface this by saying that is hard to do, and you may need a licensed professional to do that with, because sometimes the
one?
emotions are so overwhelming that it's like I can't sit with it. And that's usually the reason why people don't sit in, like, how am I feeling? Like, how am I feeling? Because not only did you lose someone, but you lost everything that came with them, right? You lost maybe a
Mm-hmm.
support system. You lost somebody who gives you the best advice. You just lost so many things connected, that the vessel, the physical is one thing, but everything connected to them, you have to process that. Right? You got to sit with it. So the biggest thing is sitting with it, and realizing all the things that you lost, right? Um, Understanding, normalizing it. Say again.
Could that be dangerous? Like, if you sit, like, I see some pretty, like, I can't live without, you know like, I mean, I would always suggest, just please just talk to a therapist, because that fine line, when, like, just seeing someone in their emotional state, especially when you don't know how to process, is it safe to sit there and feel like this is your everything, like a loved one? You know what I'm saying? Like your husband, your wife, or your brother, sister, or anybody who's that close to
Yeah. Um, it just depends on your your ability to process, right? And then that's why I say you may need to do that with a licensed professional, because it can be so overwhelming that it can turn left pretty
you.
quickly if you don't know what to do with these emotions, right? And that's the thing. We get these emotions because we don't have a lot of training and learning in what we do with emotions.
Mm-hmm.
People don't sit in them. It's like, okay, Niesha, sit in them and do what with them, right? Like, but really acknowledging that we're feeling this way and then figuring out why we feel this way, and then starting to kind of to reach out for support. Right, I may be feeling some way, and I need to talk to somebody. Talk about the person. That's something I notice people don't want to do, but talk. Call somebody up and say, "Hey, I really want to talk about mom. Like, nobody wants to. Everybody's acting like she didn't pass away, and I need to talk about her." Right, so it starts to kind of normalize it. It's a slow process, so don't rush yourself, but start to normalize this new normal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think that's a good thing. I would always suggest, especially when, because I had people come and just spill they guts out to me, and I'm like, sometimes my mouth is. I, I want you to deal with it, but if I like when I see the look on some people's face, it's just like I'm sorry, and if you need anything, let me know. But I know that a lot of people can't process, and not just process, they can't safely process. You know what I'm saying? And that'd be one of the things that I never want to impress upon somebody because of the way that I think. Because I know I could be little out there sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Um, I don't want to ask that. Um, I don't even know these questions. I don't even know why. I don't know how you can answer these questions. But
Okay.
uh, um, how would you? 'Cause in some communities, you always have these unspoken things and things that probably happen or occur, and they usually happen when people or kids, mostly females, I might as well say, are younger and they deal with like touching or getting molested or physically assaulted or something. How do how how do or would you suggest somebody to not just process that, but what would a safe space look like for somebody to talk to somebody and process something like
Well, and I hope this answers your question. So, what I've found when people have been violated, um, is that it's very hard for them to trust. Rightfully so, right? Um, they need a lot of patience. I've had clients, we don't even talk about it for a year. Like, we're just they need to trust me. They need to
that?
feel like they aren't, I'm not going to just disappear. Um, or that they can talk about this event without judgment, shame. Because so many things come, so many complicated feelings come up when you've been violated. Um, it's not black and white at all. And a lot of people look at it like in a way of in a way of, okay, this happened to me and now I hate this person. Okay, good. They cheer it on. But a lot of the times when we're assaulted, it's about somebody close to us. So it's very complicated, the feelings that we have. This may be um, a loved one, right? Someone very close to the family. So the biggest thing is being patient and letting them talk about things when it's their time, when they feel like it, not pressing, being very gentle um, about their trauma. It's a very, very uh, challenging thing to process. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, yeah, and rightfully so. I understand that. And for anybody who needs more information about Miss Gowens and her practice, that is her website, scrolling at the bottom. If you have any questions, want a consultation, all of her information can be found there. And next, uh, my next question to you is, it's about fear, dealing with fear. Um, and I want to say, well, I probably deal with it too, but uh, um, an example of what I mean by fear, like fear and trust. I guess both of them are kind of like they're going together in this question. Um, I would like to know, with the world that we're living, in, where most of the food is bad, all of it is kind of bad. It's fake. Um, everything that is kind of like everything that is shown to us and given to us, it's not real. You know, even the wars, even the, the politics, the way that they look at us as human beings in the United States. Like, how do you how do you look or see past knowing that you're living in a society that everything, even the medication that they give you when they say they're helping you, it doesn't help. It 9 times out of 10, it's going to cause more good than bad or damage to you. How do you get past that kind of fear?
As far as the medication part, right? For instance, that that can be simplified into doing your own research and finding out that uh, a lot of that comes from things that we can get on our own from our food, right? And different things like that. That we have to. We accept to a certain extent that we live in a uh, capitalist society, right? So this is a business,
Mhm.
and you have to accept that for what it is. Once you realize that you are living in a society that's a business, you then have to move accordingly, right? I don't think there's any getting past it. A lot of people do. How do I say this? Um, one of the hardest things is pulling people into reality, right? Because
Mhm.
it's
Yeah.
nice to live in a fantasy and just be like, no, they care about me and all of these regulations. They care about all these things, right? But when we really look at the facts, and you have to do that for yourself, you know. Yeah.
Okay. That was safe. That was safe. Um, let me see. And, oh, still I have questions. This is another one. And everything is therapy based. I'm wondering, uh, do you do you believe that do you believe that we still carry trauma from like slavery?
Absolutely, absolutely, of course, uh, of course we do. Um, even, I mean, I think the biggest piece that I see come up in therapy is just the we don't know a lot. We don't know a lot about emotions. If you just talk about culture standpoint, what to do with those. Like we are late on that train. We're just figuring out like these recent generations, right? Because our parents and that's not even a thing. That's not even I asked my father, and I'll never forget. Like, do you know what emotional intelligence is? He told me straight no. And he knows everything about everything, right? But he said blatantly no. And so that told me so much. And that's a whole nother thing. But
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 no, hold up.
uh,
Can you explain what emotional intelligence is?
it is, and the way I look at it, let me, so you can
Okay.
always look up the official, but how we deal with emotions and how emotions impact our day to day, our behavior, right? If
Mm-hmm.
we don't know, sometimes we're not taught how things that happen in our childhood impact our functioning today, how we look at the world today, right? And we didn't even know, I didn't know coming up that I was supposed to even process my emotions. I had no clue. I had no clue how my parents' divorce impacted me. I had no clue that it even did. I had no clue why I was doing unhealthy things to cope with life, not realizing it stemmed back to God knows where, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Emotional intelligence. Yeah. So, and that's why I asked about it because I think um other than the programming that's going on with our community, I think that that's a big thing to me. The whole slavery part and the beating and the mistrust and the hating on each other. All I think all of that is a part of things that came with that time period. And how do you how, is it possible to look in just look inside yourself or look in between the lines to figure out what portions of trauma or how much trauma that we still because to me this is just me. I believe that because we talking about like our grandparents, this is not fall. So we're talking about them not talking, them keeping things to themselves, them going through things, and them being able to cope with something, and them being able to cope with something is probably not the healthiest thing, but then they get passed on, and then they get passed on. Then we have us because we're like two generations removed. So we think about our grandparents, which you know we've heard stories, and then you think about their parents. So everybody's coping with this dysfunction, and now we're being trained under the same dysfunction. So it's kind of like to me looking at um just looking at even like you just defined you just said look up the word for yourself because everybody's definition of life or living is different from household to household. So everything, even love, is different. You know what I'm saying? So it's like how do you process what normal is if you live with dysfunction and it seems like it's normal.
So we we go through life and know when something isn't working anymore, right? Because a lot of the things that we do, a lot of the things our parents did were out of survival, right? They
Hmm.
they had to just survive. They just survived it, right? I have to. So there's a period in our lives where we just had to get through it, right? But where the problem comes in is when I use those tools, I take those survival skills, and the thing I had to survive is over. Whatever that war was that I was going through in my life, I had to use my tools. I had to push my emotions to the side, right? Because when we're in war, we don't have time for emotions. We don't have time to take care of that right now. So we take those skills into a regular day to day relationship, and it's not working. Like I might be in a relationship, and why is it not working? Like what is going on? Why are my temper tantrums not working? Like, why is me shutting down not working? And it was like, hey, maybe there's something here, right? That we get a little click and it something's not right. Something's here. And that's when we start to explore, oh, wait a minute, maybe I'm using a trauma response. Right. That's where therapy comes in to help people see, well, this isn't working because your mom used to shut down on you And then you learn that from her, and that's why you do it, right? That's why you do that thing. Let's find a healthier way to communicate now. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, it makes sense. And I'm kind of jumping over the place 'cause I have I have a lot of questions, and I'm trying to walk this tightrope. Um, as far as raising a child is concerned, and we know that a lot of times nowadays it's not it's not a two parent household. Um, is there? Let me see what I want to add. Because would you agree that like even I was explaining to my one of my partners, um, my man that I work with, he he's about to have a child, and I was trying to explain to him the difference, like because I've dealt with it before, but when you have a child and you're not living in the house, it's a different dynamic. And what could you say would be the differences between living with your child and co-parenting and someone not actually staying in the house? And do you do you lose something like some kind of influence when it comes to you not being in the house versus you being on the outside?
I think it depends on how it started. I think that's a big thing too. Like if the child is used to you both being there and then you leave the home, that's a loss. So they have to adjust to that. They're going to feel the impact of that. Now, if you already you're over here and this is already the setup, right? Then not really. This is their normal, right? But you still have to make a significant impact and still have to show up, right? Because there are going to be moments that they want you there. They want to talk to you. They want that. So making yourself very available, even through phone. I call you, you pick up, or you call me back. You're not you're not saying you're here for me. Oh, I'm not in the house. I'm always here for you, and then you're not, right? So being accessible, I think is the biggest thing. Is making sure you're accessible when that child needs you, when they need that support. Yeah.
Yeah, well, but then what if it's the opposite? What if the kid like push back? Like what if there's how do you think you respond to because if there is a separation,
Mhm.
like you said, usually a child probably don't know the reason, so maybe the person that leaves is resented. What is a way, or is there a way to? Well, obviously it is. Well, what would you suggest um, would be a comfortable way to gain a child's trust after you lose it, or they're not as comfortable with you because they think that you've done them wrong by leaving.
I would say just being honest and being patient, right? Because kids it's very hard to get their trust, especially if you've lost it. If you've lost trust with them, or they feel like you've done something to lose trust with them, it's going to be very hard for them to open that door back up to you again. Right. So being honest, even when they don't want the information, giving them the information, whether they look like, so I'm just going to give you a text message and run down the whole thing so you can read it, or you don't have to read it. Don't matter to me. But now you know. And when you're ready to talk about it, I am here to talk about it. Right. And they can do it on their own terms. The ball is in their court. Now, I don't know the age that we're talking about here, but yeah, patience and honesty, I think, are the best things when it comes to having relationships with kids because they can see BS a mile away.
Yes, yes, they came. Yes, they came. And that leads me to my next question and my final question. So, but I don't know if I said it, but I wasn't going to hold you that long. Um, when it comes to, I don't know if you deal with you. Well, I think that's a hard thing to do, but deal with like infants, like
Mhm.
maybe kids is like little kids around like 2, 3, and
Mm.
their behavioral pattern. Like how what do I want to add? Like, 'cause they seem so impressionable. Um, what do you what would you suggest? Uh, or how do you suggest? How would you suggest dealing with those type of uh, behavioral patterns, those erratic behavior patterns, when you're dealing with a child that rage or anger, and you can't really understand or know what's going on with the child, because they say terrible twos, but when kids, I guess when kids are when they're learning the world and they don't know anything, but they know yelling and screaming usually gets people attention. So when you're dealing with a child around that age in that time frame that can't speak and tell you, how would you suggest a parent deal with that kind of behavior?
So I'm going to say I do not see children at all. that, that is not my expertise. I will be honest with you. But what I will say with I deal with a lot of and I talk to a lot
Advice
of
is on.
parents. Yeah, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
adults who had kids. And um, first things first, make sure you talk to your primary care physician. Their primary care physicians, and making sure they are, neurology, they're up here is doing well and their functioning is within normal limits, so that there is not something underlining going on first and foremost. And
Mm-hmm.
make sure you're recharging as a parent, right? Dealing with infants takes a lot on you. Not only is that your role, you have a thousand other roles. Recharge. Sometimes you can't be a parent. You got to give the child off sometimes. So you just have to. And that's very hard for parents to do. And they feel sometimes they have to be a parent all the time, and they burn out
Mm-hmm.
quick. They burn out fast, right? So that is where I will say I put most of my advice into is, okay, dad, mom, when you get a break, that's where I come in. So talk to a child therapist for sure.
Oh yeah, cause can't have. I know some people can't. Even though they have kids, they don't really know how how much their life is not their life anymore when it
Yeah.
comes to having a child. Even I keep my grandson, and it's like I know that I can't pay attention to myself. I have to watch him because they are so sneaky. Um, yeah, that's good. I want to conclude. We almost at 40 minutes, which is good. I thought we was going to do an hour, but I want to thank you so much for
Thank
your time, and hopefully this information has helped someone. And if you have any other questions, I would urge you, people, community, I would urge you to reach out to therapist Naisha and set up a schedule. I don't know if you do consultations. I mean, yeah, a little consultation to see what further you do. Like Zoom Zoom therapy calls or
Yeah, so yes, I do telehealth right now. So virtual
oh,
for
okay.
North Carolina, South Carolina clients, if you reside in those states, I definitely get you booked for an appointment. Just go to the website. Yeah.
Do they have to live in those areas, or you mean for insurance purposes?
For well, so I can only treat in those states because those are the states that I'm licensed in, right? So uh they don't let you do that, and I can get my license in any state if I want to pay the money to do that, you know.
Real estate agent, I understand. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
found out the hard way that you can't practice in places because you don't know the laws.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. There you go.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you and your time.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, no problem, no problem. And hopefully we can do this again. I just break down all of my questions. I would say one day maybe we can talk about me and all of my plethora of things that's going on.
Mhm. Let's do that.
Have to do that off air. Sorry.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, that would be so. But I I I could use it. You know what I'm saying? So I could use it. Well, thank you again. I want to call you a doctor so bad. Um, Therapist Gowan, and
Thank you.
I will talk to you a little bit later. Okay.
Talk to you later. Bye.
All right. Bye. Bye Facebook. Bye YouTube. Bye all y'all. Thank y'all for checking in with me once again. One in the Martin moment. And again, if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to give me a call. If you have any real estate needs or real estate information that you need to run past me, 240-752-2357, and I will talk to you then.